Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio, and today I want to talk about how do we find our target clients. So, if you're in the business-to-business market segment, this podcast is for you. Now, if you're a business-to-consumer person, well, guess what? I think you'll still learn something, so hang out. I think it'll be fun. All right, so business-to-business, how do you find your target clients? Now, in order to kind of set this up, let's kind of, establish a scenario here. Let's say that we're both selling, we belong to the same company, and we're selling a billing system and we're selling some consulting services on the side. So we're selling a product and we're also selling a service. So the first thing I want to do is when I want to find my target client, let's kind of zoom back and state the obvious. What industry are we in? That's a good first question, right? So let's assume that we're in the telecommunications industry, right? Telecommunications, now that's a big industry. Now, step number one is know what industry you're in. Number two, what are the market segments within that industry? So let me use three examples. There's the wireless segment, there's the fiber optics segment, and then there's the satellite segment. So industry, step number one was telecommunications. Step number two, what segment? Wireless, fiber optics, satellite. Step number three, what types of companies, what market, what type of companies are actually in these markets? So for example, this is step number three, I identified at least three of them. Let's say cable TV operators, internet service providers, and cell phone operators, right? Mobile operators. Now, I know there's more segments than that, but I'm trying to keep it simple. So step number one, industry. Step number two, segment, wireless, fiber optic, satellite. Step number three, market customers, right? Cable TV, internet service provider, cell phone operators, mobile operators. Now, what I want you to do, step number four, is now create like a little matrix. A 3x3 matrix where on the left-hand column, right, from top to bottom, you got wireless, fiber optic, satellite. Across the top three, we got three columns, cable TV, internet service provider, and cell phone. Now, I want you to look at this because this becomes your space. Now, this is the exercise you should do depending on whatever market space you're in. Figure out what are the different products, services, segments, and what companies are typically out there. Now, again, I labeled cable TV, internet service providers, or cell phone, and again, three market segments, wireless, fiber optic, satellite. Now that I know that, step number five. What I would do is I would go back into my company's database and begin to mine the hell out of that information. In other words, I'm going to go back and look at the company's history. And here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see the history of who's purchased our products, and I want to know what they buy. Here's the list I would use. I want to know who bought from us, when was the last time they bought from us, when they did buy from us, what was the average order size, and then maybe frequency, how often were they buying? Now, these are key things to know, things that you can extract from your database. So this is real data mining. So this gives you an idea of what companies to go after. So let's walk through it slowly. If I go back into the database and I'm selling a billing system, I may notice that a lot of wireless companies, as opposed to the fiber optic or satellite, a lot of wireless companies seem to buy the billing system. But I also may discover that a lot of the fiber optic companies mostly buy our consulting services. See, this gives me that type of data. But then I put a finer point on it. I also noticed that within the wireless industry, the people that buy the billing system typically tend to be the mobile operators, cell phone operators. And the people that typically buy the services are typically internet service providers and cable TV operators, because sometimes they're the same. So now I know who's buying what in what segment. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to go through this little exercise because it's really important to understand what is your playing area. In other words, what's your sandbox, right? What market segments, what type of companies will buy your product and services? And then we're going to data mine, again, look at our history to figure out what they're buying. Now, the question you may be thinking is, Victor, what if I don't have any history? What if our company never kept any records, any data history? And believe it or not, I've had that happen where a company says, we don't have any history, which is almost impossible. I mean, you got to have at least a year's worth of history. But assuming that they don't have a lot of history, what you're going to have to do is figure out, using this matrix, look at the different segments, wireless, fiber, optic, satellite in this case, and the types of companies, cable TV, internet service providers, and cell phone, and actually pick one. Use the 3x3 and begin to pick one or two market segments that you think are more likely to buy your product. That's the best you can do. But all companies have some sort of history. So unless you're a startup, you should have some data. Now, once you've gone through the data mining, I want you to list out all these companies that have bought in the past. Okay, just list them all out. Just make a whole laundry list. Have the printout ready, if you know what I mean. Then, once you have the printout ready, here comes the key part. Step number 7. I want you to categorize these customers into existing versus past clients. Existing versus past clients. What does that mean? An existing client is someone who is still buying. A past client may be somebody that hasn't bought within a year or in more than a year. Now, I just use a year as a rule of thumb. It could be 2 years, depending on whatever time frame you want to use. But let's just use a year for this example. So I would go through my list that I just listed out all the customers who actually bought from us in the past. And then I would look at people, or companies rather, who have actually bought something within the last year. I would put that under the existing client bucket list. Then I would look at inactive customers who haven't bought in more than a year, and put those in the reactivate past client bucket. Okay, so I got existing clients and past clients. Past clients, again, is people who haven't bought in a year or more. Now, when I look at my existing clients, what am I trying to do there? I'm trying to upsell and cross-sell. I'm trying to upsell and cross-sell. Let me define the difference. If I sold them a billing system, then I want to upsell them. In other words, maybe I've created new applications or new plugins that actually bolt into the billing system, so I want to upsell them. In other words, I want them to upgrade what they currently have to a new revision or new operating system and add some new plugins. That's an upsell. If I sold them a billing system and I wanted to sell them now consulting services, then that's a cross-sell. So think of upselling as vertical, cross-sell as horizontal. So when I'm looking at existing clients, I'm trying to upsell and cross-sell. And right now, if you look at which of these two would probably pan out the most, existing or past clients, it's obvious, right? Existing clients is going to give you a big return on investment, especially for your time. Now, on the past clients, let's look at that list now. What you're trying to do is reactivate them. You got to go back over them and figure out why they haven't bought. Now, the third list that I haven't mentioned yet, the third bucket, so to speak, are new clients. What you're going to do is look at that list of existing clients and past clients and say, who's missing? What companies haven't we touched? What companies haven't we gone after? And you're going to create a third list, a third bucket list, and those are new clients, people you need to go after for the first time, to activate for the first time. Now, when you look at these three lists, how would you prioritize them? Would you go after existing clients first, or maybe past clients, or maybe new clients? Here's how I would prioritize them. Existing clients first, then go after past clients, and then begin to go after new clients. Now, that comes again with a big asterisk at the bottom, right? It really depends on what your manager wants, your leader. Because sometimes they'll say, I don't want to go after, manage our existing clients, forget our past clients, but we need to expand our market, so we need to find new clients. So depending on what your manager wants, that'll determine which of these three buckets you start working on the most. But if you're self-directed, and basically it's up to you, I would go after existing clients. Studies have shown, one study showed that you can get up to 25% increase in revenue by going after existing clients. But if you try to go after new clients, you may get a 3, at most 5, but more around 3% bump in revenue by going after new clients. So even though it's only 3%, you also have to think about long-term, that over the next 2-3 years, that revenue could grow. So again, you will have to make a decision. Should I go after existing clients the majority of the time, past clients who haven't bought in more than a year, or new clients? So let's go through the steps again. Define your industry. Telecommunications. Within that, certain segments, wireless, fiber optics, satellite. Within that segment, different markets, right? Cable TV, internet service provider, cell phone. Step number 4, you create a matrix, a 3x3, and then really look at where your spaces are, where you think you're going to sell the most. Then, in order to determine that, step number 5, start data mining. Go back into your databases and look at the past orders for the last year, 2, maybe 3. Then, number 6, list out all the companies and see who bought, right? And again, what we're looking for is 2 things. One is existing clients who are still buying, and then those who stopped buying more than a year ago. And then on the existing clients, figure out, per market, what are they buying? What product are they buying? What's the average order size? And what is the frequency of how often they buy? This is key to know. Then after that, you got 3 buckets. You got the existing clients, past clients, and new clients. That is how you approach your target clients. So this is Victor Antonio signing off, but always reminding you that selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care.